Hey folks, this is Echo. I just got back from TwitchCon out in Las Vegas, and I wanted to share a little bit about my experience. I spent a ton of time chatting with owners and developers over at the Fun Pimps, as well as connecting with friends and fellow creators. So I'm going to break this into three key update areas. First, I'll talk about the new game Blood Moon that you may have seen pop up on social media. Then I'll walk you through the news on Alpha 22 features and release dates and such, and then the console release. And then lastly, I'll kind of tell you how I think these are all linked together at the end of the video, as well as sharing the pitch that I made to Rick Hunick in regards to some new game modes. So diving straight into 7 Days Blood Moons, the first reaction I see from a lot of people is, why are the Fun Pimps working on another game when they still haven't buttoned up 7 Days to Die? I'll cover my thoughts there, but I want to tell you more about what the game is first. At the core, this looks like a 4v1 asymmetrical horror game similar to Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th. If you aren't familiar with either of those, it's a competitive game mode with 5 players per match. You will have 4 survivors who will square up against a game master who will summon in Zeds to attempt to murder them. The survivors will have to work together to loot, craft, and build to defend themselves for 7 days. Now, one of the curious parts is that they estimate the game to be about 1 hour, so those are going to be some really short day cycles. When you jump into the game, you'll be able to either set up private matches with friends or leverage a matchmaking system to get paired up. And similar to other asymmetrical games, there will be a progression system that is focused on unlocking cosmetics, perks, and potentially in-game bonuses. After launch, it also sounds like they're going to have additional DLC that will increase the amount of cosmetics that you have to play with. Now, in terms of development resources, the Fun Pimps are leveraging an external development studio out of Canada called Illogica. They will be building the game on the same framework as 7 Days to Die, so when I get to the end of the video and talk about launch dates, keep that in mind. With different resources and 7 Days Blood Moons having a dependency on Alpha 22, it is more likely that Alpha 22 could delay this new game versus further delays happening on the 7 Days to Die Alpha 22 launch. Personally, I've never been a huge fan of Dead by Daylight, but I find the idea of the game format with building elements added in to be kind of interesting. Now to the question of why. Well, from my perspective, the Fun Pimps are looking to increase their portfolio while leveraging existing assets. I've already seen a ton of comments from longtime players who have zero interest in this new format, and that's okay. I think the goal is for the Fun Pimps to break into a new market and hope that they see some crossover. Additionally, for people who don't have the thousands of hours to burn into 7 Days to Die, this allows for a shorter experience, which is again going to bring a different type of player to the game. So as we get new information about this, I will be sure to share it back out. Let's go ahead and jump into Alpha 22. In regards to the features coming out, I talked to both Rick and a number of the developers there at TwitchCon. There wasn't a lot of new information so much as clarification about what's coming in Alpha 22 and what's pushed to 23+. But starting off, we'll talk about a little slip up that occurred in the first of the dev streams for Alpha 21, where Rick accidentally dropped that the helipads would actually be teleport pads. So in Alpha 22, we will have fast travel between the traders. It looks like it's going to cost a certain amount of dukes. Due to the nature of multiplayer, I assume it's going to have to be instantaneous, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. In Alpha 22, we're going to lose a little bit of flexibility in our dress-up ability. We're going to lose clothing, but instead we're going to get 4 armor slots. And you can see here some of the various outfits that you have, and each of them will focus in a specific area. Here's the nerd outfit that is crafting focused, for example. And then here's another, this is a farming outfit. Now we don't know that these numbers are going to shake exactly, but that is the general idea. So the other change that's partially linked to this, and the one most likely to slow down Alpha 22, is them replacing the UMA or Unity character system with an in-house system. So we will have to forever say goodbye to our janky character with its horrible animations and its jumping up and down amazingly like this, and instead get to become the naked crawling cowboys that we have always wanted to be. On a serious note though, I am very excited to see that the character model will be brought into parity with the zombies so that we have a similar look and feel and just a better looking character overall. Next, we did get verification of an overhaul of all the vehicles in the game, which for the 4x4 looks awesome, and for the mini bike it looks special. Next, we've got new variations of zombies. The combat's the same, but the look of them is different. They're going to have different colors. Some of them are going to have different shirts and things like that, so it just mixes things up. I hope it makes Horde Night a lot more interesting and more varied. I did get a chance to see this in person when I was playing the console version, and I gotta say, it really changes things up a lot. Finally, I've got to rain on some parades because bandits, which we've reviewed and covered in the past, are not going to make it into Alpha 22. Now, in fairness, the Fun Pimps did do a good job of projecting this, because if you look at all the graphics here, it's noted all over the place where it says Alpha 22 or beyond. So that's everything I got clarified on Alpha 22. Let's jump into console, and then I'm going to talk about how everything links together and what I think that the projected dates are going to be for release. So in terms of their TwitchCon setup, they had 4 PS5 consoles set up so that a number of people could play. So I got to play side by side with Tim Recchi from Guns, Nerds, and Steel. But let me go ahead and flip on over to gameplay so you can see it a little bit better, and then I'll talk through what my experience was. So for the demo, they had a preset 4K map and gave you some starting points to work with, and started you on Horde Night so you can kind of see how the game played. And overall, performance felt pretty good. Now again, like I said, it was a 4K map. There weren't any massive cities to really give it a good stress test, but it was running on high settings, and I didn't really experience any huge lag or spikes along those lines. A couple times I ran into some latency issues with the controller, but that could have easily been issues with the convention center and all the RF that was around there. Overall, on my 2 to 3 hours of playing this during TwitchCon, I found it enjoyable. I'm not that great on controller, but was still able to kind of figure things out. I really enjoyed the variation of the zombie colors that you can kind of see here. And mostly I'm excited about getting our console brethren to be able to join us and get that crossplay going, which is the question that I know everyone is going to ask is, is that going to be enabled? And I think it is a day 2 thing. They're going to release it and then get the crossplay going afterwards, but that is definitely the intention. The other question that I seem to get a lot was how many players are going to be able to play. And I think that that is still up for debate. I'm sure it's definitely up for debate when you start talking about crossplay. So this brings us to that pivotal question that everyone wants to know the answer to, which is, when is Alpha 22 coming out? When do we get our hands on console finally? And when is this new Blood Moons game coming out? Well, it wasn't completely unlike past dev streams where the developers and the owners had kind of different, varying opinions on this one. But overall, what we repeatedly heard there was end of Q1, early Q2. Now, if past performance is indicators of futures, then I'm going to add a quarter onto that and say my guess is that we're going to see somewhere between Q2 and Q3. That's just my guess. You can let me know down in the comments what you think. So before I let you go, I did want to talk to you about a pitch that I gave to Rick Hunick, and I've been talking to Lathan about this for a while, and I think the community would find it interesting and enjoyable. And that's the idea of adding in new game modes in a seasonal fashion. And now I know everyone's going to cringe because everyone thinks, oh geez, here's one more battle pass. But one of the things that I think would make 7 Days to Die interesting is if we had a shift in the base meta and you had to switch up how you design your horde bases. So imagine every 3 to 6 months, we have a kind of challenge mode where you go in and the characteristics are different. Maybe certain traps don't function, or they do less damage, or certain guns don't work. I'll use a playthrough series that I'm doing right now called The Abyss as an example, where I'm manually adjusting the block damage by 5% per day, which is kind of giving you a limited amount of playtime. You're going to hit a certain point where the zombies' damage is just ridiculous and are just going to one-shot all your blocks. But the whole idea is, given that challenge mode, how do you redesign and change up your bases? This way, every new season, you'd have a whole fresh approach to the game. All right, folks, so that's all I've got on 7 Days to Die, but if you're interested in hearing about my TwitchCon experience, I'm kind of excited to share it. So this is my 2nd year that I've been there, and last year I went and I was a fledgling streamer, and I really just wanted to go kind of hang out with Not Your Parents GNS, who are, husband and wife streamer couple that I met that I've hung out in their communities and learned quite a lot from, both, from a technology perspective as well as how they approach their streaming. So this year I went back and there were a ton of 7 Days to Die, 7 Days to Die creators there, and getting to meet in person the folks who I've collaborated with and worked with over the past few years was absolutely incredible. So I got to spend some quality time with Tim Recchi from Guns, Nerds, and Steel. I got to hang out and have, frothies with Jaboodle. I got to hang out with all the Fun Pimps. I had my mod Blonde drive in. So overall, it was just incredible to be able to take these moments that I've had online and bring them into the real world and have conversations and get to know folks a little bit better. So if you're a content creator, I cannot recommend enough making it out to TwitchCon so that you can kind of connect with the people that you've worked with. I think it just, cements those relationships and just makes them a little bit more real. Also for me, getting to chat with the developers right there and build those relationships and have some quality conversations with Rick Hunick from the Fun Pimps was just absolutely amazing. So that's all I got for this video, folks. I will see you on the next one. Take care, all. Hey folks, this is the first video coming out of my new studio. I still have a long ways to go here, but if you've been wondering where content's been, I moved, I'm in a new space, and I'm getting there. So we're gonna start cranking out the Abyss pretty soon, and I've got a huge 24-hour extra live stream coming up, so stay tuned, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.